Hi, the Sustainable Mama here, and today's Friday, January 11th, and it is my son's birthday. So in honor of that, I'm going to be talking about his birth and my experience with it and just how it went. But before we get into that, I want to show you guys the organizational thing that I did for this past week. I got all my recipes put into my recipe book and organized by the type of food it is. This one has like starters, fish, meat, vegetables, and baking and desserts. So they're all organized in that area. So it's exciting. My recipe book is finally organized and not a hot mess like it was. So, and for next week, for my organizational thing I'm going to do is I'm going to organize the desk. Yeah, our desk is a mess. Let me show you. That is what our desk looks like. So it's pretty bad, and the little guy always pulls papers down onto the floor and it just gets really crazy. So I'm going to organize that, and a big part of it will be I want to get some kind of organizational system for our mail. So over the course of the next week, that's my little project. I will get our desk really organized, and I will keep it organized, and I will get something specific for the mail, because that's our biggest problem, is too much mail coming in and we don't deal with it right away or have a proper system for dealing with mail. So now let's get into the birth of our son. Before it was time for us to have him, before his due date came and he came into the world, me and my husband did a lot of research at different kinds of birthing techniques and stuff like that, and we wanted to make sure that we knew what we needed to know and made our decisions ahead of time and made a birth plan. So we watched the movie I recommend the most is we watched The Business of Being Born. And that was very informative for us, and it helped us out a lot to realize that we did want a natural birth. And it took a while, because like most men, they don't give birth, so they have a little trouble understanding, and they don't want their wife to be in pain and different things like that. So it took a little bit to kind of get my husband completely on board with the idea of doing like a 100% natural birth and everything. But as we did more research and looked into things more and watched more like natural birth videos and stuff, he became more and more I guess like accustomed to the idea and excited about it. So that was really cool. So throughout the pregnancy we did that. And we looked into different areas here, places where I could give birth, and we decided on, there's a local hospital here that has a birthing center, and a natural birthing center inside the hospital. So we felt comfortable with that, just in case if something did go wrong, that we were right there in the hospital and they can just transfer us to whatever emergency unit they needed to, or just regular labor and delivery or whatever. So that was the plan. So fast forward to my son's due date. On his due date, which was January 10th, was his due date that the doctors gave him and stuff. And I go to a doctor that has midwives, so that was like their estimated due date, and mine was January 11th. So we were like right around each other. And in that morning, I went to the hospital, because the doctor's office is in the hospital, and I was like 2 centimeters dilated or so, and that was like my 40-week appointment. And so I was like, okay, well, that's good, because I was 1 centimeter like the week before. So we went through that day, and my mother-in-law came over, and she was helping me make some cloth wipes, because like I was like I need to make these cloth wipes. Like, I don't have enough cloth wipes. I need to make them right now. And I was like stressing out about it. I think that was like my way of nesting, was making cloth wipes, because I didn't really like feel the need to like clean everything. I just had to get these cloth wipes done. So she came over and she's helped me do that. And I was sitting here with her, and I just remember telling her, like, I haven't had any contractions or anything yet, but I just kind of like feel uncomfortable like all day. And she said that that's kind of how she felt with her pregnancies, is she kind of felt uncomfortable throughout the day when the baby was about to come. And she left, and then my husband got back from his meet. He was at a meeting for his union, and it was within like maybe 15 minutes of him getting home, I just felt my first contraction, and it was at 9:10 p.m. on January 10th. So I went, we're, you know, kind of hanging out around the house, like, oh my gosh, like, is this it? Because this is our first child, so we're really like not sure about stuff. So, and we had done like a natural birthing class and stuff, and they told us things, but you don't really know until you've gone through it, like what it's like, and you can't really be sure until you've been there. So we're hanging out here, and they started coming on pretty strong, and they were like a few minutes apart, and like for 20 seconds or so, and then some were like 40. It was like back and forth. It wasn't very consistent, but they were really strong and pretty painful. So I called the midwives at around 10:40ish or so, and she said, I was telling her about how it's kind of really inconsistent, but it's very painful. And I told her like about how many minutes apart we were. But see, they were like within a minute and a half apart or so. And then they would last for like 30 seconds. And I felt they were like so painful. But she said, well, it sounds like you're in early labor. So just try to go to sleep, get some rest or whatever. Just try and rest, maybe get in the tub or something. So I was like, okay. And you know, I'm like, okay, she knows what she's talking about. I must be in really early labor. And so I get in the tub, and that helped, like the heat did. And I also, like, sitting on the toilet helped with the labor too. That position, for whatever reason, felt good. And then, so after I got out of the tub, my husband and I, we went in, and we tried to go to sleep. And he rested for a few minutes. I think he might have dozed off for a second or so, because we were like really tired. And we're like, man, we've got a whole day ahead of us, so yeah, let's try and get some sleep. I could not sleep at all. It was so painful. And they were still like just like a minute and a half apart, maybe 2 minutes, maybe a minute. It wasn't consistent at all. And I don't think it was consistent at all through my entire labor. But it was very intense, and I was like, I can't sleep. This is stupid to try and sleep. So I get Joe up, and I'm like, Joe, this is really hurting. Like, I really feel like I need to go to the hospital. Like, I just feel like I need to go there, because I feel like it's just really bad. This isn't early labor. And he was like, well, let's try and monitor, and we'll time the contractions and see how it goes. So we went into the baby's room, and I'm sitting on the birthing ball, but that was so uncomfortable. Sitting on the birthing ball, like, I thought that would feel good and everything. For me, and it does for some women, but for me, it was really painful, and it did not help at all. So I tried mostly just standing up and swaying helped. And so he was timing the contractions, and we decided that, and the midwife had said, I think she said it's been a year or so, but I think she said once they are 2 minutes apart and they last for 40 seconds, then come in. Well, they never lasted for 40 seconds for me. Like, they would last like 35 or 30 or whatever. I think that's like the numbers. I don't know. It's been a year, so that part of it, my mind's a little foggy. But so we decided to go ahead and go. We called and we said, can we come in? We just really feel like this is very intense. And they said, yeah, come on in. And the birth center there only has 3 rooms. They're like, it's full, but we'll put you in triage if you're in labor. we'll check you out in triage, and if you need to stay, then we'll move another couple over into regular labor and delivery. And everyone who goes into that birth center knows that if you're like a day or so after you've given birth to the baby and a new mom is trying to birth naturally, that you'll be moved to a regular recovery room, and so that way she can birth in the natural birthing area. And it's totally fine. You know that going in, and I knew that going in, and if I ever had to move, that would have been fine, but we didn't. But so we went in, they checked me. She was like, "You're 5.5 centimeters," and I was like, "Okay." And they were like, "All right, you're staying here." And so we're in triage for a while. It's like a really bright, small room, and I went to the bathroom a few times to kind of just sit on the toilet because that felt good. And I felt like I had to pee a lot too. And then I went back to the room. They monitored the baby on me, like hooked up that little monitor right on like your belly. And so we're in there for a while, and my husband was such a great helper and just a great support. I would need him to like do the hip squeeze for me, and so I'd be like, "Oh, they're coming on," because I could feel them coming on, and I'd be like, "Okay, help me, help me, help me." And he'd help me by doing the hip squeeze, and if that didn't feel right or if that wasn't helping, I'd be like, "Just rub it, just rub it." And he would just rub my back and just push on it, and just hoping that he was helping, and he was. It was so helpful. So it was just me and him, and for pretty much the whole time I just wanted it to be really intimate with me and him. And after about an hour or so in triage, they finally moved us over to the birth center. They had gotten the other couple moved out and cleaned everything, including the tub. They have a water birthing tub that you can use for water birth, or just for, it's like a jacuzzi tub, or you can just use it for helping with pain relief. And I knew going in that before I was going to have the baby that I was open to any birth position. I was open to whatever my body wanted me to do. So I didn't have anything set in my mind, like I want to have a water birth, or I want to be squatting on a stool, or I want to, you know, I didn't have anything set in my mind that this is how I want to have the baby. I just wanted my instincts to take over and this baby to come however he wanted to. So when we finally got into into the birth center, into my room, it was totally different. The lights were dim. They had soft music playing. It was like instrumental music. It was beautiful, and you could hear the water running in the tub, and they're like, "Your bath is ready for you. The tub is, whenever you want to get in, you can get in. It's filling up right now." And it was just like a totally different feel. Everything was so calm and soothing, and it was great. So I was so happy to be in that room. And that room, the room there, it's like a hotel room. They have a queen size bed. Everything is nice furniture. There's no medical equipment out. You look like you're in a nice hotel room with a huge jacuzzi tub and a huge bathroom, and it's great. So right when we got in there, I pretty much got in the tub as soon as I could, and I did not leave that tub once I got in. It felt so great. It helped so much with the pain relief. And my husband got in with me, and he was wearing swim trunks, and I was just wearing a sports bra throughout my labor once I was in the tub. And he just helped, and he did hip squeezes on me and just rubbed my back and helped me through everything. But it's totally different. Once you get in the tub, it's like so much of the pain it's just so much dimmer, and it's so much more relaxing, and it was great. But then, so I'm in there for a while, and I had been stuck at 9 centimeters for a while, and I had known, like, right when I got into triage, they told me that the sac of waters was right down low, and it was like kind of like bulging down there. And so they said that and it stayed like that all the way until I was 9 centimeters, and I'd been 9 for a while, and I'm in the tub, and she said, okay, the midwife came in, and she's like, "Listen, your sac of waters is still down there. It's still bulging. The only thing keeping this baby from coming is that sac. If we break your water, you're gonna get this baby out really quick. And I was like, okay, well, let's I talked it over with my husband. I'm like, what do you want to do? He's like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So we had her break the sack of water, and she changed the lighting in the tub to make sure it was clear, and there was no meconium or anything we had to worry about. And like the very next contraction, it was well, I think I had gone through transition before they broke my water. I felt like I was going to puke and stuff like that. And then they broke my water, and then that increased. Like, I was like, I'm really going to throw up now. Like, I'm going to throw up. And then, like, the next contraction, I was like, I need to push. I need to push. And I was like freaking out. I was like, I need to push. I feel like I have to push. And I was freaking because I've never had a baby before. I'm like, am I supposed to need to push right now? I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And the one nurse, she was so calm, and she was so helpful. She just said, do what your body's telling you to do. Just if you feel like you need to push, go ahead and push. And so it was her and the midwife, and there was one older nurse there too. And the nurses in the natural birthing center are accustomed to natural birth, so they're so helpful with staying calm and just helping you get your body to do what it needs to do. So she was like, so I go ahead and I push at first, and it's really painful. It felt like I had a big bowel movement that I just needed to get out. And so I pushed and then that contraction was over, and I was surprised that I didn't know this, that in between those pushing contractions that I wouldn't feel the need to push, like that it wasn't like I didn't feel any pain in between those two. It was like it's totally different. My hands were tingling. I kept the fists. I was like so tense, and the nurse, she just opened my hands up, and she was like, just open your hands, just let the feel the blood flow through your body, like just calm down, take a breath, just relax your hands. And she just kept telling me that in between the pushing contractions, and it was so helpful because I was forgetting to relax because this was like intense, you know. And so she would tell me to do that, and it was seriously like 3 or 4 pushing contractions, and I got to the last one, and I was like, it's really painful, like pushing a baby out of you. But I just said, like, I'm getting this baby out right now. I'm getting this baby out this time. I'm gonna push as hard as I can. I just remember thinking that in my head. And before I got to that last contraction, I was thinking some crazy things in my head. And I've talked to other women, and they have some similar thoughts, like things that just, they don't make sense, but it's like your mind's way of like dealing with the pain. And like what I was saying in my head, I was like, no, I was like, I'll just keep him in here. I'll just stay pregnant forever. He can just stay in my womb, and I'll just stay pregnant forever. And it was just like, that's what I'll do. I'll just stay pregnant forever. It'll be fine. And that's how I was like kind of dealing with this pain that I was feeling. But I got to that final, like that last contraction. I was like, that's it. I don't want to have any more of this pain. I was like, I'm just going to push him out right now. And I just bared down, and I just pushed as hard as I could. And I was screaming so loud. I felt like everyone in the hospital could hear me. And he came out, and oh my gosh, he was so beautiful. And they put him, and we're still in the tub, and my husband's behind me, and he was holding my legs through the pushing. And the midwife just immediately just hands him to me, and I'm holding him right here, and there's his little face, and I can see this little swirl of hair on his head, and his feet are right here. And my husband says, oh my gosh, look at his feet, they're huge. And I'm looking at his feet, and they're huge, and his hands were huge. He was just such a big boy, and oh, he was just looking at us, and he was just crying so hard, just screaming. And I was just like so thankful to hear that cry, and like how loud he was crying. It was like, yes, he's so healthy, he's so strong, and he's so beautiful, and here's my God. And I just kept saying, like, my baby, oh Joe, our baby. And like we're just sitting there and just enjoying the moment, holding our little guy for the first time. And we had about, I'd say about 5 minutes or so in the tub that we were holding him. And then she said, all right, well, let's go ahead and get out and everything. Well, Joe had, did you cut the cord in the tub? I can't remember. Yeah. And he cut
I was out of the tub. You were in the tub.
You got out and I was still in. So he got out, but I was still in, and he cut the cord. And then they took the baby, and they just kept him in the same room. They had to just clean him up a little bit. I went to the bed. They had the plastic down and stuff, and I pushed out the placenta. And just hearing our little boy Elijah cry, and we hadn't named him yet. It took us a while to name him, but it was so beautiful, and it was great. It was the best. He came so quickly. I only pushed for 20 minutes. He was born at, I think, 5:06 a.m. and my contractions had started the night before at 9:10 p.m. so it was only like 8 hours of labor. And the nurses just said to me, they're like, you were just made for this, like you were made for birthing. That just like was good to hear. It's like, okay, cool. And she's like, and your next ones are going to be even quicker, because that was a pretty quick labor, and your next ones are going to be even quicker. And I was just thrilled to hear that, and just so excited about my little boy, and he was just so beautiful. And here, I'll get a few pictures. This was him, and since they had moved the other couple out from the night before, the photographer came like 4 hours after he was born. And instead of like the next day, so I was kind of felt stupid because I looked so bad. I felt like I wanted to get makeup done for when I was in pictures, but it was silly because he was like fresh newborn, like just a few hours old. Here he is here, and here he is again, my little man. And here's like a little collage. So they had like the photographer come in, and you can get the pictures and you can order that. So our little guy and his big old feet. And so after they had like cut the cord and everything, cleaned him up, and I birthed the placenta, then I nursed him for about an hour. He nursed for like an hour or so, and still no family had gotten to come in to see him. I wanted like intimate time just to enjoy nursing him for the first time, and I had no idea how to nurse, and so trying to figure that out and getting help from the nurses and everything. So then after he was done eating, my family came in, and he was just so wide awake and alert, and his eyes were so big and beautiful, and just these big brown eyes. And so my family came in, and they got to hold him and everything. So it was beautiful. It was such a beautiful experience. It was so beautiful, and I had such an amazing experience giving birth to my son that I get jealous of my friends who are about to give birth. Like, I had a friend who just gave birth, and I have a friend who's approaching giving birth. She's getting close to 40 weeks now, and all my friends who are pregnant right now, I'm like, oh, I'm so jealous. Like, oh, you get to give birth. It's like the single most powerful, amazing experience you'll ever have in your life as a woman, and like, it's just so amazing. So yeah, that's the birth of our son Elijah, and it was beautiful and great, and I'm just so thankful for him in my life. Today is his first birthday. It's crazy. He's 1 year old already, so the time just flies by. But anyways, so that's his birth story. Thank you so much for watching. Next week I will talk about some of my husband and I's like parenting techniques, or kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not mantra. Or like how we kind of view parenting, and like what's appropriate and not appropriate, and just kind of how we deal with things. So I'll talk about that next week. So anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.